Welcome, UCL fans, to our Week 14 review and ranking for the United Championship League. I'm your host, Talon from X64. We're here to take a look at the matchups that took place this last week and kind of get an idea of the playoff situation as well by the end of this video. If you do enjoy this video, I hope you do leave a thumbs up, and then let me know down below who you want to see in the playoffs most, or even who team you've been rooting for this whole season as well. So, I didn't get a chance to make up the usual layouts that I have with the team matchups and the who the MVPs are and everything. So I'm just going to kind of read off. Like, I have been so busy with things lately. I'm just reading directly off the notes I've been taking on there for it. So we're going to start off with the Long Island Reggie Rockies, who were 3-10, taking on the Bronx Bear Ticks, who are 11-2, and it was a 4-0 victory for the Bronx Bear Ticks. It's really hard to say that there's an MVP for this matchup because in the end, every single one of the Bronx Bear Ticks who were brought into the match ended up getting a single kill. So each one got one kill. No one really stood out above the others. I would say, if anything, maybe I would say like the Snorlax or the Reuniclus. They really stood out as being strong defensive walls on it. But each one ended up getting into this matchup for it, but like I said, no real MVPs. Next up, I was going to watch the Newcastle Needle Kings, who were 5-8, taking on the Grand Canyon Greninjas, who were 3-10. But the Grand Canyon Greninjas were unable to. They've been out. The coach Twit has been out traveling a lot lately. Wasn't able to make it home. Newcastle Needle Kings have been kind of busy as well. Excuse me. And they decided to call it a draw. Now, I don't know if it will end up being a draw by the end of this, or if they're going to end up having, what's the word for, if they're going to say, oh, well, Newcastle would have been prepared, Greninjas would have not been prepared, so they'll take the loss. I don't know, but we put them down as a draw for right now. Up next, we have the Durham Druddigons, who are 11-2, taking on the Toronto Tokakis, who are 5-8. And it was a 1-0 victory for the Durham Druddigons. MVP of the match goes to Terrakion from the Durham Druddigons, who did manage to get 2 knockouts this week. Moving on, we have the Tulsa Talon Flames, who are 1-12, taking on the Bristol City Blazekins, who are 6-7. And this is, of course, the first matchup from the last 3 weeks of having no matchups that the Tulsa Talon Flames are actually having. And it was a very close match. It came down to a 2-0 victory for the Bristol City Blazekins. The MVP of the match was the one who ended up sweeping the rest of the team for the win, which was the Lucario. Managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Up next, we have the Tucson Terrakions, who are 7-6, taking on the Manchester Magnazones, who are 6-7. And it was a 3-0 victory for the Tucson Terrakions, who will now be going at least positive, which is what their goal was from the beginning of the season. MVP of the match goes to Dragonite from the Tucson Terrakions, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Move on to this next one real quick because I want to talk more into that one. Up next, we had the Pittsburgh Peaches, who are 8-5. They were going to be taking on the South Beach Slow Kings, who are 2-11, with a lot of playoff implications for the Pittsburgh Peaches. Pittsburgh Peaches in a must-win situation if they wanted to have a chance at making the playoffs. And unfortunately, this match did not take place as the South Beach Slow Kings, their coach David, I guess recently got promotion at his job and is now requiring more time over there, so was unable to have time to compete this week, so forfeiting the match and giving the Pittsburgh Peaches one step closer to the playoffs. Now, next matchup isn't the hype match that I was going to have for this week. Instead, this matchup is actually the, biggest surprise matchup you can say for it. Is like the must-watch matchup, I guess you could say, whatever you want to call it. And that was the Philadelphia Alligators, who are 5-8, taking on the Real Maril, 12-1. Now, going into this, I, like a lot of people, expected the Real Maril to come out with another victory. However, not only did the Philadelphia Alligators win, they got a 6-0 sweep of the Real Maril. The MVP, or at least the Pokemon that at least got that sweep, was Raikou from the Philadelphia Alligators, who did manage to get 5 knockouts this week. Very impressive. Again, I don't think anyone would have expected it, considering the fact as well, only, two of the 6 months weren't even seen on the battlefield for it. Um, like Bronzong and Milotic never hit the field once. Scrafty hit the field once, but didn't really do anything. I think it had did one move and then was swatched out. Arcanine also did impressive. Got the only other knockout this week where it did a Flare Blitz to the Tornadus, bringing it down to very little health, and got the burn. And the burn is what ended up knocking out the Tornadus in the end. Otherwise, the rest of the moves, like I said, were taken out by Raikou, who came in as sticky webs were being set up to prevent it from being slowed down. Very impressive showing from Philadelphia for Alligators. So congratulations to PK Sparks, that hotness, for getting the 6-0 sweep that he always sings about in his intro video that he does for the Philadelphia for Alligators. Moving on to our hype match of the week, and this was definitely another must-watch for this week. We had the St. Louis Rampardos, 9-4. We're basically, another one of those teams in a must-win situation to keep playoff hopes alive. Taking on the Carolina Keldios, who are also 9-4. Again, kind of in that must-win situation. And it was a 3-0 victory for the Carolina Keldios. The MVP of the match goes to Azel from the Carolina Keldios, managing to get 3 knockouts this week. So, St. Louis Rampardos essentially are now out of playoff contention, but they will be still having something to do with playoffs in the end, similar to how the South Beach Slow Kings had something to do with playoffs. Now, I forgot to preload this part. I do have, of course, let me pull it up to our week. Where did it go? Didn't I? Oh, jeez. Hang on. I thought I saved my one thing. I guess I didn't. Hang on. Alright, well, we have. Why didn't it save? Alright, I was looking for my picture that I had that shows the actual layout of the playoffs, or not playoffs, the rankings that are going on right now. So they put it here. No, I lost my stuff. As you can see, like I said, oh, here it is. Wasn't looking for it. All right, so I'll just put that right. I'll keep where it's at. So, 16th place, Tulsa Town Flames, 1-13. They missed 3 out of the 4. They missed 3 weeks this season, which could have ended up making a difference on it, but unfortunately, that's where it lies right now. South Beach Slow Kings, 2-12. Long Island Reggie Rockies, with an 11 or 3 wins, 11 losses. Grand Canyon Greninjas. Now, this one could potentially change after or this weekend when we actually get to see how the rankings are, or how they actually take the wins and losses for it. With a 4-9-1 right now. Toronto Togekiss 5-9. Newcastle Nido Kings 5-8-1. Philadelphia for Alligators again with that impressive matchup this week, now in 10th place, 6-8. Manchester Magnazones are 6-8. Bristol City Blazekins 1 win away from being positive for the season, which I think they were last year by the same record. Tucson Terrakions, win, lose, or draw, they will be at least positive for the season. Now, again, I did this ranking by a differential. Don't look at it this way, because St. Louis Rampardos are out of playoff contentions, whereas Pittsburgh Peaches are. Pittsburgh Peaches 9-5, differential 3, but again, differential does not count it for anything in this league. This is just for, a more, you can even call these power rankings if you want to for it. Carolina Keldios, currently 4th place, 10-4, and their matchup next week is actually against the St. Louis they went up against St. Louis. Their matchup next week is against, I believe, the Bronx Bearticks, and which we'll get more into that in a moment. Carolina Keldios, like I said, 10-4. Durham Druddigons 12-2. Bronx Bearticks 12-2. Real Mural 12-2. Technically, if you were to look at this the way the UCL does, the Durham Druddigons are actually in first place, then the Real Mural, then the Bronx Bearticks, just because Durham Druddigons defeated the Real Mural and the Bronx Bearticks. Real Mural did defeat the Bronx Bearticks in their matchups. But if you look at it from a differential standpoint, this is how it all gets laid out for it. Next week's the biggest matchups that are going to be taking place, well, what? I'll get into that probably on my preview video. So, but just know that playoffs are still like, Durham, Bronx, Real Madrid. They're all guaranteed to be in the playoffs. There's no way around that. Carolina Keldios could still make it in the playoffs, but there's a possibility we will have somebody else in the playoffs for next week. But we'll look more into that during our preview video and discuss more about that. Or maybe I'll do an actual playoff analysis look. I don't know. We'll figure that all out. I have to get off the computer to let my wife get on here to do school stuff. So, thank you all very much who did watch us all the way through for it. We will, of course, be going, like I said, trying to get my other recording for what's going to happen this weekend set up for Friday. Thank you all again for watching. You have yourselves a good time. Take care and goodbye.